Yes, John Robb here interviewing Roger Eno about his quite startling new album. So, with an album like this, Roger, do you? I mean, I know people would never have this thing, but do you actually have a vision of what it's going to end up like, or do you just start? You play piano every day, you write the pieces, and does it kind of present itself?
Yeah, good one. It does. It sort of finds that they find their own direction. And bear in mind, if you probably know what I do, don't you? You
Mm.
know right. So you'll notice that I haven't changed what I do very much over the years at all. So I've got this sandpit that I like playing in, and I don't really get out of that very often. But this one was different because the world had suddenly impeached on me. Normally I could keep it at arm's length. But there was, I mean, for me, the situation in Gaza was just so abhorrent that it didn't seem, um, it seemed disingenuous not to put some bitterness in this.
Mm.
So there are a couple of, at least two tracks that are quite unusual for me. They've got kind of anxiety in them. One, the opening track, Forgiveness, has got a lot of wailing, and I think it's the last. I've just got to check my list.
You've
Hang
got
on.
your own song titles.
Oh, it's awful. I'm trying to think where it comes from.
This-
Last one
yeah.
after rain is has got some unusual corners to it, and I thought the genocide had to be somehow approached. And I'm not very good at this. I'm not a political animal, but I thought not to make some reference to this. Of course, the other one was the massacre of the innocents. I mean, that was the key to it. I wrote that on the actual day of it. It's a Catholic feast day, the 28th of December, when Herod, you might know, he sent his thugs to murder all of the boy children under the age of 2. And I thought the parallels here uh, are uncomfortably. It's just repeating itself. It's 45 miles away from where that original thing happened, and I thought this has got to be documented. But other than that, I wanted I'm always very, very careful about running orders. I still sort of think in album terms, because you and I are of an age where you had to get up, turn it over, didn't you?
Yeah.
Unless you got one of those little bars that flip it or something. So I'm very, very cautious about what track follows the previous. Uh, so once you've got a body of work, which I have, because as you mentioned, I work every day, so I've got this huge choice. Some of us really duff, I'll give you that. You come up with a tune, oh God, this is awful. But by probability, I'll just jump in there. For example, this September, I did a tune a day. Every morning I wrote a tune. So it means that you've got what's at 31 or whatever, however many days are in September.
30.
So
Yeah.
the probability, how many? 30?
30, yeah. I just remember that old rhyme when I was a kid. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So by the end of that month, the probability is that there's going to be five, perhaps, that are good. If as long as you keep working, something's going to come out. And as it happened, it was a very good September, and there are stacks that are going to be usable. So anyway, so I end up when it's time to make an album, I end up with this great big bucket that I can sort of stick my hand in and pull these ideas out. And then it's a question of what's going to end up being good to listen to several times. Because, repeated listening is a different thing, isn't it? You can soon get bored of or tired of the kind of sound of it, basically. So you put these together, running order, you've got a record. You didn't mean to make that record. It kind of made itself through you choosing what you had, which I think is a very organic and pleasing process. In this one, I wanted to make a difference between the last two DG records that I did. Um, in that I wanted to allow Christian Badzura, my producer, I want to let him have more reign. So to hand it over just to see what he could do with things, which I think is a handy thing to do sometimes because it gets you out of habits because the other people wouldn't do what you do. So that's a great thing. And also with players, I did that. There was a great clarinetist called Alexander Glucksmann. Alex Happy Man, can you believe? What a great name, isn't it?
It's ironic considering the atmosphere of the record.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it can mean happy or lucky. And I don't know if he was either, really. That poor fella. He loved it actually because he's a classical player. And I mean, really, like a top clarinetist um, that plays in like orchestras. He's got a quintet that he works with, but it's all music that's written. So it's all already laid down what you've got to do. You've got to follow the notes and do this. I said, forget about that. Make squeaks and honks and just get on with it. And I'll tell you, John, he loved it because you're never allowed that sort of freedom.
I love
And
these
he's,
parts. They were like a creaking door.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There we are.
Mm.
That's the sort of business. Yeah, we're hopefully we're touring the States next year, next spring. It's sort of in the pipeline at the moment, and I want Alex to come along because he's such a key part to this now, and he's also a really lovely bloke to be around. So that's I allowed this album even after having chosen the tracks to develop itself because you didn't know what he was going to do. You didn't know who was going to do what, which I found a really, for me, that was equally exciting because I didn't know what was going to happen.
It's kind of
I
like
didn't want to,
their interpretations of what you've already sketched out.
yeah, there you go. Or actually, literally, we said to Alex, just make some squeaks and honks, do whatever you like. And doing this to a classical musician, it can be quite unnerving because it's a completely different skill. If you're used to reading, you don't have to rely on your own
Mm.
inspiration, if you want to call it that. In fact, it could be really unnerving because you don't know if you're just going to cock it up for everyone. Have that, Alex.
There's a real stillness to the music as well, which I really liked. And I don't know if I'm sort of extrapolating here, but in my head I was imagining because there you are in the flatlands of East Anglia,
Yeah,
and it seems to describe the landscape as well.
you're a bright fella. That's exactly what it does. Because I spend enormous amounts of my time wandering the coast here. The coast is. Where are you? You're the other side of the country, aren't you?
I'm obviously in the complete opposite. I'm in the middle of Manchester, so it's
Oh, crunch. Yeah, all right.
claustrophobic and high, but you're in a very flat,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
big
yeah.
sky. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Um, but this side of the country, it's very friable because the cliffs, they're sand cliffs, which are always being eroded. Fossils are coming out, and bits of the Second World War are discovered, like pillboxes and um, bits of I wouldn't say artillery, but military equipment. So you've got this sort of history being revealed all the time, and that sort of thing. The idea that so I keep backing it up on myself. East Anglia is not like your part of the world. Yours was an industrial hub.
Mm, mm.
You had the big conurbations of Birmingham, um, Leeds. I was there the other week. Actually, I wanted to go and see the Victorian architecture in Leeds. Fuck, is it lovely?
Oh,
It
brilliant.
really, it
Yeah.
really is something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, so you are the powerhouse of Britain. The In East Anglia, the Industrial Revolution virtually missed it. There's very, very little evidence that anything happened. Most of the churches are medieval. That was the peak here. The wool industry. Um, so it's very, very rich in the 14th, 15th century. kind of missed out all the 19th.
Yeah.
And there's now attracting hipsters to open bloody coffee bars on piers, which I've got my own thoughts about. Um, so it's an unusual place to live, but one that affects me deeply. You know, this is my home. I was born here, moved away, and came back. So I think you did a similar thing. You stayed around where you were born, didn't you?
Yeah, I was born in Blackpool and moved to Manchester, so I'm
All
still
right.
in Lancashire. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It sort of gets under your skin. I think it's a good thing to do to find somewhere that you feel um, you've got some kind of investment in. I think
yeah.
that might be the way to put it.
I remember talking to Shirley Collins, the folk singer.
Yeah, yeah.
She said this really amazing thing that your music, and you can't help this, your music comes from the soil of where you're from. So her
Nice.
folk music's from the soil of England. So in a sense, that's what yours is, and it's not something you do. You don't sit there at the piano going, "I'm going to write a song about the flat land out the window." I'm sure you don't do that, but it's there anyway. You can't help it.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can't do New York. If you're trying to write a song about New York, it would still sound like East Anglia.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like that idea. Yeah.
All the skyscrapers would be kind of rubbed down, sanded off to these little table-sized things. Yeah. But no, I'm quite happy with that. The only thing you've got to be careful about, or I've got to be careful about, is repetition. So that, I don't mind using the vibe of it, if you like, the atmosphere of it, but somehow the pieces must be individually different. I mean, every writer has got his own style, but having a style is different to repeating yourself. Kind of self-plagiarism is a bit of a dodgy thing, which is actually where most of the rubbish bin I've got ends up being. It's much too, "Oh, I've already done that one."
Yeah, and imagine there's a lot of discipline to your work, and I imagine a lot of editing and stripping down, and just you come up with the idea, but that's just the initial, that's the seed, isn't it? Where does it go next?
Yeah, that's right. Well, the stripping down is extremely important to me. In fact, I think I call myself a decomposer because I write things and then take away more than I put into it, or try to strip it right back. I'm thinking about having that as my headstone when I die, decomposer, which rather
Like
bit of
at
a
what levels? Yeah.
yeah, a bit of a poor pun, but may as well. Um, so that's the deal. Yeah, it's a lot of it is that you've got stacks of unnecessary notes when you actually what you want are gaps for people to inhabit. I like the idea that people can become kind of part of the process by if you leave these gaps and people naturally will fill them. You can't help but think in between there. So
Mhm.
what are you filling that with? Each person has got their own um, equipment to put in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people that would seem like kind of a simple process in a way, but it's hard, isn't it? Because you don't want to ruin the atmosphere of your piece, do you, by taking too much out? It's like Jenga, isn't it? Musical Jenga or something.
Right. Ah, nice. Or Kaplunk.
Yeah, a couple of that's even more like yeah, because it's got to be a playfulness to this as well, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh God, I haven't played that for years. When was the last time you played Kaplunk?
About 1972. I remember it was a big Christmas game then, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think we've still got a box of it here. Yeah, so that might be that's my afternoon done then.
That's the next album sorted out.
Yeah, right. So that's part of the deal that you're using instruments that haven't got, unless you want them, that haven't got obvious connotations to the listener. So I particularly like some blends, like the cello and clarinet. When they're together, they seem to marry beautifully. I don't know quite what it's about their timbres, but they work just fabulously. So it's this sort of thing. What basically you have a sketch in a piano piece. You've got a sketch that you've now got the choice to color in, and what colors do you want to use, and that's what orchestration is. The instruments that you use are the things that are tinting
Mm.
this black and white sketch.
Oh, see, you very much look at it like a painting.
Oh, completely.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I very rarely listen to music, in fact, but I read a lot and I look at paintings. Like I went up to Edinburgh recently. I'd said I was in Leeds. I went to Leeds as well because I wanted to look at the Leeds Gallery. I'd never been there. Some really good work in there, and also up in Edinburgh. Again, some fine stuff. So that my influences, or what would you call it? Inspirations come more from the literary and the visual than music. Because I think it's. I mean, obviously I love music, and I sometimes when I listen to it, I cry like a baby. But the thing you have to be wary of is subliminally copying people. And I've done this. I've done this. It's called cryptoamnesia. I found out
Mm.
which means that you've forgotten you've stolen it. Crypto is nicking, and amnesia obviously is forgetfulness. And I wrote a piece that I won't tell you which piece it is or who it copied, but it was embarrassing. It had already been released. I thought, God, this is going really easy when I was writing it, you know.
Yeah.
I released it, and then a year or so afterwards, I thought, hang on, someone else has written that, and it's almost identical to the note. And
Oh.
that's cryptoamnesia. You can do it with your own work as well. You know,
Mm.
you can plagiarize yourself and not remember that you'd written a piece. So I'm a bit wary of doing that, you know, and you can't do that if you're looking at paintings and you're getting the influence from a poem, for example. They can't say that. Well, that piece of music is like that Keats poem, isn't it? You know, it doesn't. People don't care that much then.
I mean, these aren't suggesting rhythm patterns or melodies to you when you look at paintings or listen or read poems. They're just suggesting atmospheres, and
Exactly.
you work in textures and atmospheres, don't you?
Precisely
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Um, you can end up with melody through that. You can end up with melodies that do have those things that then demand you think, oh, this could make a really good song, but it's not. That's a kind of second-hand, a secondary effect. But no, you're right. It's the atmosphere that you want to capture. Like, well, there's a couple on this. I've got to keep referring to this track list, John. Sorry about this.
They're
Where
instrumental pieces, aren't they? So it's not like somebody's singing the chorus 20 times. So
no, no, exactly. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Where is it? There's definitely After Rain, for example, is it comes from a short story by the look, here you go. Can you see?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this is William Trevor, who's like a master of the short story, and he wrote this one. This is a collection of short stories that happens to be named after this particular track. The track is named after that particular story, and it's the most beautiful thing. It's when the enunciation happens. I mean, it's much longer than this. You can get a copy and have a read. It's beautifully written. Um, he states that every time you see the angel Gabriel talking to the Virgin Mary, saying, there's good news and bad news. You're going to give birth to the Son of Man, but he's going to be crucified. So there's this sort of, oh, right. Imagine that for a 16-year-old mother or whatever she was. But he says whenever that moment occurs, it's always pictured as being just after rain has fallen so
Mm.
that you get this kind of freshness in the world. Now, I've not noticed that before, and there's lots and lots of painters like Lorenzetti, Giotto, stacks of them have done this picture, this picture here. In fact, I think that yeah, this is
Yeah,
Bartolomeo. This is. Can you see that? Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's great. It's
So
great.
the other interesting thing is look at there's always the dynamic, the angel, this supernatural being is always on his knees in front of the human, the mother of God here, because he knows his place. Although he's an angel, God has chosen this mortal to be something else. So you knew that bit of the story. That's kind of a mythological bit of theology. But what knowing when the actual thing was taken, this picture, as it were taken, you can, and saying that it's just rained, you then get a very physical reaction to it. Like you know what it's like, the freshness that you feel after a shower, the petrichor, that beautiful smell of newly
Mm.
fallen rain on hot earth or dry earth rather. So that puts a whole new dynamic to that story. And it was that bit that I was interested in, which gave me the inspiration to write that piece. It was about this kind of wonderful, tiny little period of time. So it's a long way to get there, but that's what happened.
Yeah, no, but I love that idea, and I love the idea that you can make art out of very micro things, and life is a series of micro sort of moments,
Exactly
isn't
that.
it? And
Yeah,
your job as an artist is just to remind people, underline them, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. I find it wonderful. In fact, I was a bit rude to a neighbour. I was standing outside my door yesterday, um, because it was raining like fuck. I mean, it really was coming down all day, and it's really what people would think was a miserable day. But I was loving it. I was playing piano, thinking this is great, and stuck my head out, and this chap said, "Oh, winter's here," and I said, "Change your attitude," because I said that to myself a couple of years ago. Because every time winter came along, I thought, "Oh, this is just shit, isn't it? Isn't there going to be another 5, 6 months of this interminable darkness and cold and stuff?" So I thought, well, I'm going to start liking this. And it took a bit of a while, but I got to it. So
Mm,
now I look at winter as a time of being stark, for example, where the trees are just, they're skeletal, aren't they? There's
mm.
a lot of blackness, the whole hue of different, the palette changes. So I decided to put a kind of positive spin on it, but I didn't explain this to that neighbor when I just said, change your attitude. It was like, stop fucking moaning, get out of my way.
You might need to go around this afternoon and make up.
Oh dear. The
But
mistakes you make, eh?
if your album was a season, it does sound like winter to me. I mean, I can see the stark skeletal trees. I can see the big landscape. I can see the
Certainly.
emptiness, the minimalism
So
of winter. Yeah.
here you go. I've got a friend of mine
Oh
to meet you.
wow. Oh wow. 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 Wow.
This
Wow.
is
I'm
Ted.
I'm a total sucker for dogs. Yeah.
Oh, they're lovely. Ted's just fantastic. He's
That's
with
that's
me
the
wherever I
softest looking
go.
dog I've seen for ages.
He's great, isn't he? He's a bearded collie, border collie cross, so he's never on a lead because they,
Was it?
you
Is a
know,
collie in there? Oh, look at this. It's a licky dog. Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, he loves it, don't you, Teddy? Yeah, off you go. Um,
So your album does reflect certain the minimalism of winter, embrace the
yes.
minimalism of winter. And
Do what? Sorry,
yeah,
what was
so
the
it
last?
does, in a sense, it embraces the minimalism of
Good,
winter.
good. I'm glad to hear that because that is the intention for me, particularly at this time of year, to try and think, oh, this is all curious and good, rather than thinking, where's that noose?
Mm. So you work on you do a lot of soundtracks and you work
Right.
in a space that could be argued to be classical, but it's
Yes.
kind of neither. It's not a hybrid. It's kind of its own thing. And I've always wondered this, as somebody who comes from different musical worlds, is what's the difference between soundtrack and classical?
Um, with soundtrack, you're kind of, I was going to say limited. You've got a sort of a visual score to work to, like where the music is following the action. Whereas in so-called classical, the music is the action. And in fact, that's the most of the parts of classical music I can't really stand very much. I like the still somber movements. The misery of Mahler, for example. Nobody does misery like him. It maybe Bruckner does as well, but he goes on too much. Um, but yeah, what it is, classical music is like pure music. It's not telling a story. It can, in the case of Scheherazade, for example, who herself was telling stories. But the key is it's its own entity, whereas film music is beholden to the images that you're looking at.
Mm.
Tell you who's who's great. I saw Kill Bill again last night. Do you know the Tarantino film?
Yeah, great film. Yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah,
But you talk about a bloke that knows about music, and that's Tarantino. His choice of music in his films is just outstanding.
mm.
Danny Boyle's another one, actually. He really knows his stuff. And another one's come to mind as well. Um, Nick Hornby. I was doing some music for a screen. I only had a very short part in this. It was a series of 10-minute films. Did you see it? It was called State of the Union. Did you ever come
Oh yeah,
across that?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I just did the top and tail of that. It's just like the intro. But as a result of that, I met Nick Hornby and started to read about him. And his knowledge of music is profound. I mean, I think popular music, but he really is in there. While I'm rambling, there's another technique that I noticed the other year that modern contemporary authors use, which is to mention a track name that you and I would know, that he's basically the reader would know. And what's that's doing is it's sewing that track into your mind. So from then on, reading that chapter, you've got that as the soundtrack, and it's a really great technique because
Mm.
they're conveying how they want their book to sound,
It's actually at another level. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So it's
isn't it?
yeah. So the
It,
description of writing's doing one thing, but the piece of music in your head's doing another. That's really
there
cool.
you go, there
Yeah.
you go.
And it's
Yeah,
kind of what
that's
you were doing in reverse, isn't it?
yeah, yes, exactly, exactly. I think Nick Hornby he does that in his work. I'm pretty
Mm.
sure. I'm pretty sure.
It's like all the arts and all the mediums, they are entwined, aren't they? And it's and in,
Sure.
and you
Yes.
know you kind of work in a sort of classical space. You grew up with pop culture, and that's a filter, isn't it, to the way you work?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And another big influence that for me was folk music. I mean, I still do. I love it. One of the things being that it doesn't belong to anyone. I'm an old, I wouldn't say commie, but I'm definitely socialist, and I like the idea that not everything has to be owned by someone.
Mm.
Like, as soon as a track is made, someone's got a copyright on it, or you can't use this because of this. Whereas folk music, they'd sell you everything for a pint a mile. It's much more convivial. I heard I was playing one year with Martin Carthy,
Oh, he's
and
brilliant.
someone asked,
Yeah.
yeah,
His
he
day.
he
Yeah.
excuse me.
He's to this day, because he's an old man now, but his performance
Yeah,
is really incredible. I love watching really old people play music.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, watch this space because I'll be there.
Well, we're all working on it, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, I think this is practice.
Well, actually, that's another underlying theme in the record, isn't it? The brevity of life, isn't it? And the album covers. I love that idea. I didn't know you drawn the album cover. You did draw the album cover.
No, yeah, I did actually. Well, the bits inside the mayfly, that was a picture, a photograph that I took, and my daughter, who's also sings on it, she sings on "There Was a Ship,"
Yeah, it's a great
which
show.
I mean,
Your folk moment. Yeah,
precisely.
yeah.
What I want for that. Sorry if I'm going off tangent here. What I wish for that track is it does become part of the folk canon. This big collection, so that in a few years, when I'm decomposing, there'll be someone up maybe in your neck of the woods. I've got this very archaic idea though of what folk music is. It's still people sort of holding pints of real ale with a pipe or something, which I think has developed a little bit from that. But to sing that song as though it were as though it's been around for centuries, and that people themselves can own that, as it were, that would be I'd feel that's a kind of mark of success.
Yeah, the soil of England again. And it's
Yeah,
just
exactly
it's
that.
been there
Exactly.
forever. You just borrowed it for a few weeks.
There you go. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Which takes us back to the mayfly and the
Right.
temporary nature of life. And I like that idea because I've always been fascinated by that. You know, the mayfly it spends months, maybe years as a little bug, and
That's it.
then it comes out the water and is dead within about 3 days. And I think
It's
that
incredible, isn't
it
it?
is, isn't it? And it's the idea that we're not here that long, really, are we? And I thought I like that as an underlying theme of your record. And you talked about that.
I'm a miserable sod, but I think about that
It's a
all
realist.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. Because if you did actually think of the medieval memento moro, you know, remember death, you're gonna that's exactly what we're on about now. It's gonna be tomorrow, next week, or next year, and you are no longer. It would actually change how how the world treated each other.
Mhm.
I think, because you know, how could if people did really think that, how could they be asked about? I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of an example at the moment. But you know, why would they think about getting a bigger car?
Mm.
For example, you know, um, it's not a good example, but you get the idea.
I
It
know what you
changes.
mean. Yeah. Yeah, but
It would. It would
it's like that old saying, "He who fears death cannot live life," and I think it puts life into a sharper focus, which sharper focus feeds into your art, doesn't it? Yeah,
yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. God,
and,
it's a pleasure talking to you, John. It really is.
and the brevity of the mayfly, and also the concentration on the micro parts of life. It's very much part of what you do, isn't it? You know, it's the temporary nature sort of
Oh,
underlying it.
it's
Yeah.
all about yeah, it's all about that and trying to be part of it.
Mm.
That's the other thing, you know, this gap, this little gap of who was it? Bede, I think the venerable Bede tells this story of because you know he was six or seven something, wasn't he? I can't remember the century exactly, but he was early on. And he tells I think he tells a king that this life is like in a mead hall. You know, there's great big feasting places that Saxons had. It's like a sparrow coming in from the darkness, flying through this hall where all this activity and jollity and I get off my whistles, all this stuff going on, and then it flies right out the other door at the end. And he says, "That's there you go. That's a perfect parable of life, if you like. You know,
That's
you come
brilliant.
from darkness, you've got this tiny little moment when you're just skitting through, and then you're back into darkness again." And I
Mm.
think it's quite a sweet way to put it, really.
Mm.
Makes you wonder if you could perch, you know, just sort of stop and savor it for a bit.
Well, I would say the perching, you can perch, and that's when you stop to make the music.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, you're right. You're right.
And that's what an artist does. It actually, you perch. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's going to go in my book. That. Thank you, John.
There's your next album sorted. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'll, I'll put you I'll, a cut on the title.
So finally, we only got a minute left, but are
Yeah.
you playing this record? Are you going to perform it at all, or is it
Well, yes, but it's going to be a cut down version because I think, as I said, we're playing in the States. If it comes off, that's what we've got people working on it at the moment, and they are bloody good, you know, because it's in everyone's favour to try and flog a few copies, really.
mm,
Um, so I'm trying to think what we can do with the smallest amount of forces. So it'll be me, piano, probably voice. I play harmonica and bits and pieces. You know, anything I can carry.
mm,
Alexander, the clarinet player. Now I think I want either a cello with that or a viola. I haven't decided which. And then my daughter's going to come. She plays guitar as well as sings, but she's got such a vibe to her. It's
mm.
really valuable having her around. And it honestly isn't nepotism. She's got something rare,
Got
you
a
know.
beautiful voice. Yeah.
It's
So I like that.
great.
It's underlying. We've only got about 10 seconds. That really underlines the minimalism. So that's great. Hopefully you'll come to the UK as well. And thanks for your time, Roger, actually. Yeah.
John, it's been a real pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll
I'll
fight
see you
again one
around.
time. Yeah,
All right.
nice to see you, pal.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye then.
Bye.
Cheerio.